Hello and welcome to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Trahan, your tour guide to the Virginia Beach area. If this is your first time listening, I am so glad you found this show. Each week, I publish a new interview with locals ranging from musicians, government officials, CEOs, artists, and much more. And my aim is simple. It's to help you discover, define, and then go out and do exactly what you're looking for during your next vacation, relocation, or outing to the Virginia Beach area. And if you're looking to join in on the conversation, take part in monthly giveaways, and get your hands on my custom event calendars, head on over to Facebook and send me a friend request. That's Joseph Trahan. And check out my Facebook group of nearly 50,000 fans of the Virginia Beach area. Don't worry about writing anything down. The links for each episode, along with the Facebook groups, will be in the description below and also in the show notes. All right, here's the show. And for this unique episode, investors here in the Virginia Beach area as well. Every episode is welcome to investors, but this one specifically. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Jamie Stark Inlow, the CEO and founder of Be Still Getaways. Jamie specializes in luxury, boutique vacation short-term rentals, midterm rentals, transient, which is 31 days and up, inns and motels, and literally does it all, from taking the property from start to finish, working on the design and remodeling process, all the way to the operations end of welcoming guests and stabilizing and maintaining all the management systems. She literally does it all. I lost my train of thought because this list is so freaking long and amazing. Jamie, we are so excited to have you on the podcast today. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Absolutely. I will mention again, Jamie enjoys working with investors, development companies, and individuals who are interested in real estate purchasing for short-term and midterm rentals. And we are talking my favorite subject today, rentals and real estate. Jamie, as a visionary in the vacation rental space across Virginia, what inspired you to establish your business in Central Virginia, and how has the Virginia Beach area influenced your journey?
Oh, yeah, that's quite a story. Well, my background is in higher education, but I've always been very interested in hospitality and just entrepreneurship as a whole. So, when I was working I was working in higher education, and then I saw an opportunity for a short-term rental investment. We were living on a mini farm in Scottsville at the time, and my neighbor had a really beautiful barn that was just sitting empty. And I was like, ooh, this could be my chance to get involved in short-term rentals. So I wrote him a proposal, asked him if I could start a short-term rental above his barn. And it was just a slamming success. It was like during the height of COVID. Everyone was trying to get out of DC and get out of cities to come to a farm during COVID. And we were just 100% occupancy. It was unreal. And then from there, I started Be Still Getaways. And Central Virginia is it's a really great tourism spot, great spot for, visitors to come from Virginia Beach. We actually get a ton of guests from Virginia Beach. But, we've kind of created this empire, if you will, throughout, Charlottesville, Nelson County, Stanton, Waynesboro. We do a little bit in Northern Virginia, and then we were in the Cape Charles region as well. Yeah, and I guess it's important to note that hand in hand with Be Still Getaways, I also have Carriage House, which is our acquisition company that's usually the place where our investors walk through the door and are like, hey, we would like to have a property where you have some money that we'd like to invest. This is a great place to start. And then from there, my business partner and I would send them properties that might be a good fit for them. So Virginia Beach has been a recent investor pocket that people have been approaching us and are interested in having, an STR here in this area, because we do have this is a great, Nelson County in particular, the ordinance is very relaxed, and it's a really, really, really popular vacation spot. If you're not familiar with Nelson County, it's where everybody comes to drink, all the wineries and the breweries and the distilleries all along Nelson 151. So we've had a lot of investors interested in purchasing in that area.
I love that. And of course, for our listeners who are thinking, Discover Virginia Beach, why are we in Central Virginia? And Jamie even asked me before the show, she's like, are you sure? Like, is this going to work? I'm like, absolutely, because we have investors in Virginia Beach, and Discover Virginia Beach is to go out and discover the community and the area surrounding Virginia Beach. And I hear it all the time. Joe, Virginia has great beaches in Virginia Beach. where are the mountains? Where do I go for the
Yes.
wineries? Where do I go for just that little cottage getaway? And that's why we have Jamie here, taking it all the way back to her barn days in the middle of COVID. Barn days, right? Starting your first short-term rental. Jamie, would you mind walking us through that process of what it initially took to get everything up and running? And then, of course, what were you thinking? That's a scary time to start a new business.
I
What was going on through
know.
your mind?
I know. Okay, so going way back, so I had been living in Boone, North Carolina, and we had friends, our best friends were getting like really into real estate and purchasing
Okay.
property, flipping it. They were buying like, I mean, back then you could buy a house for like $20,000, like a tiny house, and flip
Right.
it for like another 20K and have a profitable short-term rental. Can't do that anymore. And I was like, wow, I really want to do that. And so I was working as a contractor in higher education after we made the move to Scottsville. And so my process was I went for it. And actually, like, I
Yeah.
mean, COVID was the best time to have a short-term rental. Like I had assumed that was how the short-term rental industry was. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone needs to be purchasing short-term rentals. This is
Right.
insane. There's so much money to be made. So back then, I furnished the entire rental after I wrote the proposal. Again, I did not own the barn. This was the proposal I wrote to my neighbor.
Sure.
I wrote out like, this is the commission cut that I want to have. And that really like defined my commission standards even to today. Like I haven't changed my commission since. Um, so I wrote him a proposal and I was like, for $2,000, I will furnish this barn, which is really hilarious, Joe, because now I buy like bed frames that cost $2,000. But
Oh, how
I
far you've
furnished,
come. I mean, you mentioned Empire, right? I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? $2,000 furnished. Now we're going to work up from there, right?
yes, yes. So, and this is to say that like it takes more work, but I did all Facebook Marketplace for this unit. So I did like everything from Facebook Marketplace and it was beautiful. It worked out really well. So I just don't have the time to drive all over and pick up like Facebook Marketplace
Sure.
furniture now. But if I have seen it, like I think it was the Virginia Airbnb group yesterday. Actually, people were like, what's the average that you spent to furnish your unit? And people were like 5,000 to 80,000, which I resonate with more. But that it just looks so different for what you want to spend. Like, what's your vibe? What do you want to get per night on your unit? Whatever it is, like furnishing is a really big piece of that. So we furnished the whole thing. And then when I launched Be Still Getaways, we were on Airbnb only at the time. Since then, we have become a vacation rental group, and we now really primarily rely on our direct bookings through bestillgetaways.com. But back then, I mean, it's easy to start an investment property. Anyone can do it when you purchase it. After you furnish it, Airbnb is a free platform to join. And there's plenty of online travel agencies that you can use that will let you list.
Sure.
So that's what the process looked like for that. And again, slamming success. I launched my website. It was great. I went on to do more work with that investor. We bought a tiny house off Craigslist, had it transported to the middle of a sheep field, and opened the sister property of the original barn, which was a tiny house in the middle of a sheep field, which was also immensely successful.
Let me stop you right there, Jamie. So
Yeah.
for those listening, and I know you're looking back, but you bought a house off Craigslist on a sheep farm.
Yeah.
Did you prior to 2020 during your education time frame, did you ever think you would said
No.
that sentence?
No. I mean, I hoped. I mean, it's funny
Sure.
looking back. Yeah, I had taken a leadership course in higher ed, and like one of my goals for the whole class was I wanted to have a tiny house in my backyard when we were
Yeah.
living in Boone. So it's really full circle. And like my main word for my leadership course was hospitality. I was like, hospitality is so important for me, and hospitality is how you make someone feel in a space. And I was like, when people walk into my office, I just want them to feel welcome and safe. And um, it's just been funny looking back on that to how that has become literally my entire world,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is fun, very full circle.
And being a 3 on the Enneagram scale definitely helps out with
Right.
portraying that hospitality for sure, right?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, when the barn started, also being an Enneagram 3, I was like, okay, well, this is like an all-in thing. Like I'm gonna start branding, I'm gonna launch a website, and if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it all the way.
Right,
And
right.
then truly like wildfire. I mean, COVID was the time. Everyone wanted a short-term rental, and it was really word of mouth, and I invested a lot in search engine optimization. And it was insane. We went from 3 units to like 25 in the matter of 6 to 8 months. It was
Wow.
insane.
Incredible, Jamie. And of course, I know you say it in a very humbling spirit, but not everybody can do it like that, right? And I definitely want to portray that it takes a lot of skill and being tactful. And of course, and any real estate investment, a little bit of luck, a little bit of timing to get it just right. Take us back to that first furnishing for us, Jamie, because I'm very curious. Did you initially want to do luxury? Was it always about to be higher end, or were you just kind of like, whatever works? I got my budget's $2,000. Like I'm gonna make it work. Like walk us through that process.
Yeah, no, I definitely always wanted to be luxury. And like when I established the tagline for Be Still Getaways, it was always boutique short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it was a lot of just like being naive on my part of really not knowing exactly what things cost. But like for me, aesthetic has always been very important. So no matter what it costs, I knew it needed to look good.
Right.
So yeah, it was, I mean, Charlottesville was a great hotspot to be purchasing
Oh yeah.
from for Facebook Marketplace, because there's just so much good inventory on Marketplace there. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so it was a lot of like, I mean, I definitely sent my husband at one point to like Richmond to buy a bed off Facebook
I mean,
Marketplace.
you have all those older established neighborhoods where predominantly the house is paid off and grandma and grandpa are chilling out, right? They don't need all that
Yes,
furniture all the time, right?
exactly. And just, yeah, wealthier pockets of people that are putting things like Pottery Barn and West Elm on Facebook Marketplace for a fraction of the cost. And that's what I was scooping up for the barn.
Wow.
So
Very
yeah,
strategic, very smart on your part, Jamie. I commend you for
yeah,
that.
it was. And then back then, I also, now it's like I will die on this hill that I'm like professional photography, and like your cover photo is absolutely
Yeah.
critical for your short-term rental listing. But back then I was taking all the photos on my cell phone, like like putting them on a listing. That didn't last for very long. I got myself tied up with a photographer really quickly. But yeah, it was a lot of strategy. And then after we opened, I took all of the reviews to heart so much, and being like, anytime anyone would suggest anything like, hey, we think maybe you need like a bath caddy in the bathroom, I would purchase it like immediately. So there's a lot of purchasing after you open a short-term rental. If it's your first one, especially, it's very like you live and you learn, like, oh, we should have put that in, or that didn't work, or oh, a white couch was a really bad call, we shouldn't have done that. So it's a lot of you learn as you get started in the industry.
Sure. Especially after those initial costs go in, because I'm sure you have your outline, your budget, your proposal, and then you have things like someone staining a white couch or someone bringing a pet when they're not supposed to.
Absolutely.
Were there any anything looking back on that was like, oh my gosh, like if I could shout out anybody to avoid this specific pothole or this particular instance of when you're initially getting started, anything stand out to you as far as what you might like to avoid?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Now at this point in Be Still Getaways, a big piece of what I do is mentor hosts that, want to get started with short-term rentals. And this was a lesson that I learned immediately with STRs. But even, at the height of COVID and even at the beginning of COVID, STRs just weren't what they are now. And so
No.
a lot of people even now come to me and they're like, hey, I want to start a rental in like Austin, Texas. Can you tell me what to do? And I'm like, okay, so first and foremost, have you looked at your town or your
Have you been
county
to
short-term
Austin?
rental ordinance? Yeah, I know. And I'm like, well, one, Austin has like banned all short-term rentals pretty much, but it's
Right.
like, yeah, check your city and your county ordinance first. Just because you own a property or if you have an accessory dwelling in your backyard, it does not mean that you necessarily have the right to
Preach it.
short-term rent
Preach it.
it.
Yep, absolutely. For
So
all of our
I think
oceanfront
that,
friends here in Virginia Beach that are thinking about that, I'm like, yep, it's up for
yes.
debate. Contingent.
Exactly. And that's another thing. If you are an investor and you're looking to purchase, make sure that like there aren't any ongoing town meetings that are like looking at a change in ordinance, because I mean, knowing what your ordinances are absolutely everything before you proceed. So that was a lesson that I learned early on
Great
out
tip.
in our
Great
own
tip.
county. Yeah, it's a very important tip. Don't skip that spot. Don't purchase a property without knowing the ordinances, and don't just turn your accessory dwelling in your backyard into an STR without checking what is legal and what is not.
Oh my goodness. I love that. And anytime you're purchasing real estate or investing, it's always good to consider a local resource, a guide to help you out navigate it, and always stick to the T when it comes to all those legal documents
Yes.
to help prevent those costs in the future.
Yes.
Well, Jamie, thanks for the origin story. Thanks for walking us through. I'm really excited to dive into Be Still Getaways. Would you mind walking us through where your office is, the types of products and services you offer, and then, of course, what do you do every day?
Oh my gosh, I get asked this all the time. That's so funny. Okay. My office is here in my house. We have 8 full-time staff members that also work from their home, but we regularly see each other all the time. I was just in a team meeting before this, but a lot of what we do is on-site work. As the, my role has evolved a lot. So now I'm pretty heavy admin on the computer a lot, but it's a lot of meetings all day, every day. Our physical space, we do have a warehouse in downtown Waynesboro, Virginia. It's about 4,000 square feet. And that is where we have like an entire inventory section because, as you can imagine, we manage around 130 doors, 130 short-term rentals, which includes boutique inns, motels, as well as vacation rentals. So
a lot of furniture.
that is a lot of paper towels and toilet paper and body wash and light bulbs and batteries, anything you can imagine. We have a massive inventory that our inventory coordinator pulls from daily. So somebody's full-time job is stocking our inventory and bringing it where it needs to go to every property to make sure that every guest and every turnover staff member has what they need to keep our rentals functioning smoothly. In addition to that, our warehouse stores, we probably have $500,000 worth of furniture in there right now, just waiting to go to its next home. So we always have design projects. We always have rentals in queue. Right now, we happen to have some really big projects in queue that are in. So we have just stacks and stacks and stacks of furniture and boxes waiting to go to its next home. So yeah, like Joe mentioned earlier, Be Still Getaways, we are full service. So when an investor comes to us and they want to purchase, my business partner, Sydney Robertson, does all of the acquisitions. And then from there, she hands the project to Be Still Getaways and we do the full design. We present the design to the investor. We present the budget based on what the investor has asked. Everyone has a different budget, and that's really, really important. Short-term rentals are not cheap. So if you do need money, that is a very,
Wait, what? They're not cheap? They're not $20,000 anymore on a hill in North Carolina
Is it
next to the
very
beach?
furnishing? Yeah, exactly. Furnishing your short-term rental. A lot of times that can be that has to be a cash purchase for a lot of our
average? I
investors.
know everybody has a budget. What's the average? If
Yeah.
we're talking Central Virginia.
20,000 minimum. And that would
Okay.
be to do like a 2-bedroom, pretty like basic. We're talking like maybe you're getting 150 to $200 a night. If we're doing like a 5 to 7-bedroom house, you're looking more like $50,000 to $75,000. I mean, it's a pretty big initial investment, and we do tier our services. So it's like
Sure.
our tier 1, we have like a tier of linens and mattresses, and being like, here's what we recommend based on what we think your return on investment is going to be, or like what your
Right.
average nightly rate. If we have an inn that's going to book at an average of $300 a night or more, we definitely make more of a luxury investment. We
You're
use
gonna
like the
put those
full service
mints and
linen.
those fluffy pillows
That's
and
right.
that luxury shampoo, right? It's all
That's
gonna
right.
go in
Well,
there. Yeah.
every property gets that, Joe. No matter what, every unit gets that. But we definitely tier our linen and our mattress packages for
Okay.
what we think is best.
Which,
So yeah,
Jamie, I want to point that out because most places, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the space of where you're looking, does not offer certain amenities when it
right.
comes to short-term rentals in general. Would you mind giving me like a baseline of what you guys offer for all of your services? Because recently I went to Tennessee. We were going to see a Taylor Swift concert, and
Oh,
I think it was furnished. It said furnished, and then like the washer and dryer weren't working, and then the fridge was really small, so I couldn't fit my bottle of wine in the fridge. It was one of those things like, oh yikes, like probably should have put that in the listing. So walk us through what you guys offer
absolutely.
and how intentional you are with laying that out.
Yeah. So listing transparency is critical. Like we would never want a guest to walk into a unit and be like, I wasn't expecting this. Like first and foremost, we are consistent across all listings in terms of our baseline packages. Every guest gets the turn down card and the fluffy towels on their bed and the turn down mints. We do a public goods lineup in every bathroom, which is one of my core values in the beginning of Be Still Getaways is that I wanted to offer a clean luxury product, and
Sure.
clean being that like no shade to anyone who uses this. I say this all the time, but you will never walk into my unit and see like a blue dial, like fragrance soap. I wanted all of my products to be the same or better than what our guests were using at home. So we do use really luxury products in our units. They're very clean, they're very safe, they're fragrance free, or naturally fragranced. And then we do eye masks and mouthwash at every sink. And that's just kind of like our standard hospitality lineup. In terms of listing transparency, like you mentioned earlier, we have a standard way that we set up all of our listings. We do all caps. Here's each room, and here's what you can find in every single
I
room.
love that.
And we
I love
make
that.
notes for anything that's nuanced, because there are a lot of like strange nuanced things like, hey, we do have a washer and dryer. Note, it is on the front porch in a closet. Sometimes the pipes might freeze in the winter months. So, I mean, we've insulated pipes since then, but like anything
Sure.
nuanced, for example, we lay it out. We always, for the sake of, if a guest were to come back to you and be like, hey, what's up with this mini fridge? I didn't see this in the listing. Sometimes we have to screenshot the listing and be like, it is there.
Yeah. Wait
you
a minute,
have to
Jamie.
read it.
Are you telling me that all short-term rentals aren't built the same way? They're not cookie cutter houses built the same way?
Right. There are so many nuances. And that's always a really important conversation we have with our property owners. Like, we
Sure.
have a very detailed form that we send them. Some property owners don't know, like investors, they're like, well, you know more about the house than I do. I just
Here's my
bought it.
cash.
Yeah,
Find me something.
exactly.
Find me a deal. Find me a deal, Joe. Find me a
Exactly.
deal. Yeah.
That's right. So then we're spending so much time in the space discovering the house's nuances versus like sometimes we get already established rentals and then we're like, okay, now you tell us about all the house's quirks. What are things that are worth, telling the guest? So as a guest and a user of short-term rentals, like read all the words. I know it's hard, but people just don't read all the words anymore, but like read it all. Hopefully it's there if your host is doing what they need to be doing, but everything that you need to know about the rental should be there. Read all the words.
Read all the words. Love it. Love it. So, Jamie, for those with that burning question, the question you get all the time, what do you do every day? I know you mentioned
Yes.
you're doing a lot of top level CEO tasks like scheduling meetings, planning ahead for the business. I'm sure you already have 2024 and 2025 mapped out with all your other projects and goals.
Yes.
In addition to that, is there anything possibly unique to your schedule or anything that might surprise people about what you do day in and day out to keep things running?
Sure. Every day is incredibly different. Like I truly every single day is different, and I love that about this job. So part of how my role has evolved is I'm just not so much in the nitty-gritty anymore. And those of you that are in the short-term rental industry know that there is so much nitty-gritty, especially when you have 130 properties to keep them running smoothly. So as anyone can imagine, my role has become very much about leadership and like empowering the amazing women that we have on our team to keep this ship sailing smoothly. And so much of my job has now been about, my project manager and I, we work very closely together on design, which is such a big part of my role. Preparing a unit, packaging it perfectly to be able to hand it to operations and hospitality to be like, here you go. Now it's ready. It's ready for you. And that process,
it's on budget, right?
and it's on budget. And that process, I mean, right now we're working on an inn that we've been working on for 6 months and we haven't even started work with our contractor yet. And that looks like getting bids from contractors is a really big part of what I do. It's meeting contractors on property. It's
so many contractors.
Yeah, it's so much work with contractors. I spend a lot of time, but especially our project manager, she spends so much time communicating with contractors, herding cats, keeping everyone together. We're going to Lowe's, we're getting paint samples. So design is a really heavy portion of my job. It's really important to me to remain in the trenches. So I do try to at least get to 1 or 2 properties a week, just to kind of do a walkthrough, make sure that, we have an inspection specialist and she makes sure that everything is exactly how it should be before a guest turns in. But I like to do walkthroughs as well, just to be in it. And, that's super important. But, I'm going to the warehouse. Sometimes I'm organizing things at the warehouse, or I'm doing a Target pickup because we're out of toilet paper to bring that to the warehouse.
Sure.
But so much of my role is consulting and meeting with people that send me emails and are like, hey, I have this property in Crozet. Can you come look at it? Like, consult with me. Tell me what you think. What can I get for it? And then, creating a timeline from there. That is definitely the bulk of what I'm doing. And then admin wise, it's running payroll. It's meeting with the bookkeeper. It's meeting with the accountant. It's processing all the things that need to be processed. leadership is a really, really heavy role that I am like trying to get better at every single day. And whether that's like doing staff performance evaluations or whatever it is, it's just my leadership style, and this has definitely been the most challenging thing in Be Still Getaways. And, I was in leadership in higher education as well.
I was about to
But
say, this is your background. I mean,
it
regardless
is
of how
my
much
background.
leadership you study,
Yes,
it's always
yes.
an active skill. It's like parenting, right? You'll never
Yes,
be the perfect parent. And not saying that
exactly.
employees are kids, but the analysis of like, you're always getting better. You're always going to be improving. You're always
Yes.
going to be learning because it's always different. People are very dynamic in
That
the
is
way they communicate.
that could not be more true. And that's that is so solid. There are many times where I'm like, oh, messed that up. We'll remember that next time. But yeah, and again, like all of the people on our team are just, they're such self-starters, and that's really important to me. I am a non-micromanager to a fault. I'm like, here is this thing, please like make it happen and present it to me. And sometimes that can be a challenge for different personality types. They need more like
Sure.
explicit or black and white direction. And
I'm that type of person. I'm like, when is this
what do I
delivered?
do?
What do I do? Like, where's my
Yes.
checklist?
Yes. And that's hard for me. Like that would be a challenge between you and I, because I'm like, okay, I don't know. I just need you to do it.
Right. Just get it done. I said, get it done.
Yeah. And so that's been great. And that's something I'm always working on, because we do, obviously people do need more direction sometimes, but
Sure. Yeah.
I also think it's very empowering. I would think that everyone on our team feels that they have very, very critical roles on Be Still Getaways, and they have a lot of power and control over the departments that they oversee. So
Absolutely. And that's what a lot of people want out of jobs and teams in general. They just want to be a part of something, be able to have that control, that initiation to
yes.
just kind of really oversee it. And speaking of initiation and, control, 131 doors is incredible. And obviously you're adding more. For our listeners who may not be in Virginia Beach specifically, they may be around the Virginia Beach area, maybe in Nova, down in North Carolina. How far do you guys go? How far would you go to get it in, or STR?
Great question. So I've really reined this in, because if you asked me this like 2 years ago, I would have told you like, are you in Virginia? We'll go. Which that I would say that's another, not necessarily.
I forget the town. It's right on the border of Tennessee and Virginia. I think it's like the tippy top. It's like 6 hours, but yeah.
Yeah. Abingdon. Yeah.
Abingdon. Yeah.
Yeah. Abingdon in like Bristol. Yeah.
Yeah. Bristol.
Will not go there. In fact, I won't, like, if it's outside of an hour from where I live in Waynesboro, I probably wouldn't even entertain it.
Sure.
I think like the fourth property we ever signed on in Be Still Getaways is in Linden, Virginia, like about an hour outside of DC. And we still have that property as well as another one. But I also owned Cape Charles Escapes. I found out that like, we had a killer team there, but remote management is very, very challenging. And I felt like I wasn't able to give it the same level of care that I'm able to for our properties here in Central Virginia. So we actually just sold Cape Charles Escapes to a management company in Charlottesville, which is great. But so how far will I go? 30 to 45 minutes. We have to be able to like regularly get our hands on the property.
It's a boots on the ground job, right?
It is totally a boots on the ground job. 1,000,000%.
Gotcha. And for aspirational folks out there, if you don't mind me asking, totally don't have to disclose it, but how much did you sell the your business for recently on the East Coast?
Yeah, I'm not going to say the number, but I will tell you that we sold it for 5 times what we bought it for.
Wow. 5 times what you bought it for. And I'm sure, and this obviously goes without saying, but it's important to note, the businesses that you're working with are profitable. They're in a position to be profitable, because we all know short-term rentals are very real estate's very fluctuates quite a bit, but it seems like the systems you have are very positive on the cash flow end, or at least heading in that direction. Would that be a fair summary?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's 100% that's a great conversation that like Sydney would have with an investor up front, to be like, what is your goal? Like, are you wanting to split even? And this is an equity purchase.
Sure.
Obviously there's great equity value in purchasing real estate. But yes, we obviously, we're actually working with an investor in Virginia Beach right now who is so fun to work with, because he presents like performas to me that are like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And it's really fun diving into that with him. And I've learned so much from like, I mean, I never look at 5-year performas. Typically I'm looking at like a year 1, year 2, maybe, but for the most part, investors aren't aren't doing that I'm working with. But when somebody's opening, purchasing a motel or something, yeah, we dive in together. Like, what do we think expenses are going to be? Like, here's going to be the commission cut. Here's what turnover fees are going to be. Again, short-term rentals are not cheap. Like, there's so much more to it than being a landlord and giving someone just an open vacant space.
You don't collect the
there's so
check
much.
and go, right? It's
Yeah,
more than that.
right.
Yeah.
There's so much strategy on, like, should we do one night minimums? Like, we're going to have to pay a turnover fee more often, or, what does that look like? What does our pricing strategy look like? It is a very strategy based field to be in order to be profitable. And it definitely depends on your region as well. Obviously we are in a very popular region. It performs super well.
Yeah.
But that is not the case everywhere.
Sure, absolutely. And speaking of your doors, I'm curious, Jamie. I know you love them equally, and they're all great projects, and they're all great managers. But for maybe in recent memory, is there a turnaround, a project that you did that you were just like, man, this was really fun. This hit all of my creative notes, all of my elements, and it was just probably your most fun job to work. Could you would you mind
Yes.
sharing?
Yeah, I actually have a picture of it hanging on my wall. There is one property that is just like my baby through and through. Everyone on my team is always like, "Oh my gosh, you love that property." It's a cute lodge. She's called a cute lodge. And it's located actually in a really remote area in Shipman, Virginia. It is a little further than I usually like to go, but this is a property owner that does a lot of work with us. He has a lot of investment properties with us. And it is like a 1980s geothermal triangle, and it's blue, and
Ooh.
it's made of metal. It's blue. It's so fun. And I think, like, one thing that speaks to the uniqueness of it, Airbnb actually did reach out to me, maybe like last year, to consider it for, like, that commercial that you see on like Netflix or Hulu where it shows like a
Yeah.
really unique structure. Oh, I wanted it to be on there so bad. It ended up not working out, but it is so unique and fun. And I think it's one of our only properties that truly reflects my personal design style. It's very like, it's the perfect sexy getaway cottage for couples. It's like green velvet, like it's really fun textures. The
Ooh.
entire side of the triangle is just open windows, and it's in the middle of the woods. It's just like the perfect unplugged getaway. And it's not unplugged. We do have fiber, but it's very far away from a lot of things. It's such a good getaway. That's one of my favorite projects to date. It's the kind of place that I would book for my husband and I to get away. I mean, a lot of our units are that way, but this one was just really, really special to me. So I would say that one. And then, the one that's always worth noting is our historic Berkeley Place, which is a boutique inn in downtown Stanton. If you really want to treat yourself and get away and have a really luxury experience, definitely recommend. Or like if you're looking for a Hallmark Christmas experience,
Ooh, yes.
yeah, you want to book the historic Berkeley Place. It is
Perfect.
amazing. We have 8 gorgeous suites to pick from, and you can't be mad when you're staying at the Berkeley Place.
Obviously, we want to highlight everything that you have going on. So we'll include the link to your Be Still Getaways website, which kudos to you on moving out of the leasing space for a website and going independent. That's a great business skill for
Thank
our
you.
investors who are like thinking like, oh yeah, I'll just do it on Facebook Marketplace. That's great. That's a great starting place, but like having your own dominion
Yes.
domain, right?
Yes.
And so for those two, would you mind sending me the link afterwards? I'll put them in the
Absolutely.
link below. So when guests are checking you out, we'll have them check out those first, and
Perfect.
then check out everything else they got going on. Well, Jamie, I know you got to get back to it. You got to get back to those design projects and making things happen. So we are going to transition to our last section here, our rapid fire section. These questions are
Ooh.
quick and fast. You can answer with as much or as little detail as you want. Are you ready?
Rapid fire. So I can answer with as much, or I can just be like quick.
You can answer with as much or as little
Okay.
detail as you want. This is my turn to just cut it off, and I'm going to go quick on my questions.
Okay.
All right, first one, mountains or beach for a getaway?
Beach.
One word to describe your leadership style.
Empowering.
Love it. Most unique rental you've ever managed?
A cute lodge.
Cute lodge. Favorite aspect of the vacation rental business?
Definitely how dynamic it is. Like I said, if you are someone who thrives off of every day being different, you like a curveball, you like getting thrown something absolutely insane and you're not sure how to handle it. this is the industry for you.
Love it. Love it. Would you say you're an early bird or a night owl in, just your design phase and how you operate your business?
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I kind of have to be both, but I prefer to be an early bird. I would like to go to bed earlier, but I am a mom as well. So sometimes things don't get done during the day and
Got to
admin
work
work
those
has to be
double shifts.
completed at night. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Absolutely. What's a book that has inspired you in your business? And this could be a book you've recently read, or maybe a book that's just been constant throughout your time, managing Bespoke Getaways.
Sure. I hope this isn't like, I don't think this is a basic answer, but Untamed by Glennon Doyle was it was an important self-discovery book for me that I read during a very tumultuous time of my life. And it was right upon like starting Be Still Getaways as well. And yeah, it was very impactful. I hope that like the bulk of people listening to this have read it. It was really hot in the start of COVID. Yeah, Glennon Doyle's always been very influential to me, but definitely that one.
Great recommendation. I'm definitely going to put that in the link as well. What's your, I'm realizing we've already covered a lot of these. Let me see here. What's your dream location for your next rental property? And I'll preface it with, if you could go anywhere and money was an option, let's say you had an interior designer on site, you could go anywhere in the world. Where's that next short-term rental? And, also in the laws makes sense. Like you.
Okay. All right. This is like not a super profound answer, but my favorite place in the entire world is Boone, North Carolina. My husband and I, we lived there for 7 years before we moved back to Virginia, and we get there quarterly. It is our happy place. It's the place where, when you're on vacation and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm ready to go home. But when we go to Boone, it is the only place we visit that we're like, do you want to book one more night? Like, I really don't want to leave yet. So, it's funny, actually, an investor that we work with in Virginia Beach, he also has a tie to Boone, and him and I are like scheming a location in Boone. I would love like a boutique motel in Boone, something like retro, really fun in the mountains. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But that is my dream.
Perfect. Well, we are super excited, and we'll definitely be on the lookout for that on all your social media channels and your website. Last question for you: coffee or tea while planning your day?
Okay. Coffee, like I'm an espresso addict. So I start my day with coffee. But then I just drank a cup of tea because it affects me very badly, my anxiety, when I drink too much coffee. So I'm like,
Sure.
and we're going to switch to tea.
Absolutely. Especially in a job that's always changing, right? The landscape changes. Too much coffee might not be the best.
Yes.
All righty. Well, Jamie, thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it. We'd love to roll out the virtual red carpet for you. This is your time to share any final words or anything you'd like to leave the audience with. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Joe. Just thank you so much for having me. I do think that this is it's a very interesting industry right now. We're getting a lot of millennial investors, just a lot of investors that are looking for a place to put their money. So if that's you, I mean, short-term rentals are for everyone. We're all users of short-term rentals. If you're not, you should be. Book a getaway to one of our little towns here, or if you're an investor looking for a spot to put your money, you can contact me as well.
Absolutely. And with a range of clientele that you service, you are a great contact just to have in general. If you are looking to like ask those questions and things like that, is the best place to go to your website directly, schedule a consult there. I know you have the booking page there. That'd be the best spot for folks to go.
Our website is always the best place to go, whether you want to contact me or, we even have an invest button on our website, or, again, you can click the book now button instead. I think our website is for all types of users, whatever you're looking for in the short-term rental industry.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Jamie, for all your time. And of course, thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking out another episode of Discover Virginia Beach podcast. We set out to discover and define literally everything the Virginia Beach area has to offer, even if you're investing in Central Virginia. We hope you've enjoyed this. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe for updates for more episodes coming out the remainder of the year. And we'll talk to you all in another episode very soon.